Hey, Porch, it's Val. Welcome to another virtual Porch. We are in week 2 of our series called We Will Rebuild. Last week, we were talking about rebuilding our worldview, especially in this time that so many questions may have come up that we've never really thought about before, we've never really wrestled with before, saying, what do we do with those? What do we do with those questions or those doubts about who God is? And if you want to know, go back and rewatch that video and let's talk about it. Week 2, today we're talking about rebuilding our relationships. This is another really important one. Are we just going to jump right back into all our relationships exactly the way they were before? Or are we going to take the time to evaluate them and build them back better than they were before all of this started? That is the purpose of tonight's talk. So as I was thinking about it, I was thinking that really our relationships fall into 2 separate categories. There are relationships that we choose, and then there are relationships that we don't choose. And I think that God has something to say about both of those types of relationships. First of all, the relationships that we do choose, like our friends. This is what God's word says. This is Proverbs 13:20. It says, "Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but a companion of fools will suffer harm. He who walks with the wise becomes wise, but a companion of fools will suffer harm." Who are the people that you spend the most time with because you are becoming like them? Who are your friends? Who are the relationships that you've chosen? Are they wise or are they fools? You are going to become like them. That's what God's word says, and that's what life teaches us. Who should you be spending your time with? Think about it. And you might be saying, Val, okay, like I have non-Christian friends. Okay, fine. Shouldn't I have non-Christian friends? And the answer is yes, absolutely. You should have non-Christian friends, but you should be pushing your non-Christian friends towards Jesus. And if they instead are pushing you to do things that are not what Christ has called you to do, if they are influencing you instead of you influencing them for Jesus, you don't have to cut them off, but you may have to take a step back and take some time to figure out who you really are, why you allow them to influence you in the way that you do, and turn the tide in that relationship. Turn the tide where you will no longer be influenced by them, but you will prayerfully say, no, I am in this relationship. I love this person, and I am going to point them to Jesus and be intentional about that. We want to be lights to those people, to our friends, for Christ. And also, we want to spend our time with people who are pushing us towards Jesus. There should be a balance of both in our lives, for sure. People that we have chosen in our lives, friends that we have chosen that don't know Jesus, that we can be pushing towards him, and people in our lives that love Jesus. And just being with them makes us love Jesus more. Do you have people like that in your life? Do you have both? Evaluate that. Take the time to consider it, because he who walks with the wise will be wise, but a companion of fools is going to suffer harm. So for those relationships that we choose, you need to make sure that you choose them well as you rebuild. And number 2, the relationships that you don't choose, like your family or your neighbors, we need to love well. We need to learn to love well. I've been in quarantine with a family member, my sister, and a friend. So I've had to work on both of these things. But for those people that we don't choose, what does it mean to love them well? I've been really convicted by this passage. It's Colossians 3:12 through 15. It says this: "Put on then as God's chosen ones." If you are a follower of Jesus, you are one of his chosen ones. So he's talking to you. He says, "Put on then as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, bearing with one another, and if one has a complaint against another, forgiving each other. As the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. And above all these, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony." I don't know about you, but sometimes those relationships that I don't choose, it's hard for me to have a compassionate heart and kindness and humility and meekness and patience and to just generally bear with one another and then forgive those people. But I need to because Jesus has forgiven me so much. And to let love rule deeply. We need to practice that in our homes and in those relationships, and let this time where probably we're kind of stuck with those people where we practice what real love is. I encourage you to go to this passage, to go to Colossians 3:12 through 14. Look at those words. How are we practicing those? Because when we practice those in our relationships, we are being obedient to this high and beautiful calling that God has placed on us as his chosen ones. It's a privilege. So as we rebuild, think about it. Think about your relationships and rebuilding your relationships, both the ones that you choose for yourself and choose well, and the ones that you don't choose. And for those, we need to learn how to love well. So that is my word for you this evening. I can't wait to see you guys, hopefully soon in person. Oh, and if you're a senior, we got stuff coming for you. So stay tuned for that. All right. Love you guys. Bye.